Hello! So here we are at my repair shop at Aeolian Strings, and today we're going to talk about engraving cymbals, ultimately engraving cymbals, but engraving various things for the purpose of showing ownership over the instrument. Cymbals are of course a very personal thing and a very unique thing. Even if you buy exactly the same model of the same line of the same manufacturer, each one is going to sound a little bit different because there's, particularly with the higher end model cast cymbals, there's a certain amount of hand-done work involved. So when you get a cymbal that you really like, it's nice to be able to mark it permanently. And even a Sharpie doesn't really do the trick, and sticking a piece of duct tape on it and writing your name on it is kind of ugly. Whereas engraving does work, you just have to be careful about it. So we're going to start with something a little bit simpler. This is a cymbal stand that's mine that I haven't actually gotten around to engraving yet. And this is an engraver. I haven't worked with this particular engraver before. It's a Dremel brand, which is a good brand. It has an on-off switch at the back. And then here it has a rheostat, which a rheostat simply increases or decreases the amount of electricity that makes it into the circuit or that is deprived from the circuit in order to make sure that you have control over how much output you have. So it just increases the intensity of what the needle does. What you'll find is that as you turn it up higher, it's going to be too much for the kind of work that we're doing. Like we don't really need to go super deep into anything, and we're not working with extremely hard metal. Like this isn't iron. This is just steel with a chrome finish. So we're gonna turn it down and see how that goes. Let's start with maybe 3 right in the middle. What you'll find is that the trick is you want to make sure that you press hard enough, but not too hard. Generally, think about not pressing too hard rather than pressing hard enough. Because if you press too hard, it'll actually jump around on you, and then your characters will be messy. So you want to make sure that you're not pressing too hard. We'll probably try it on this setting, and then we'll turn it down. I'm just going to write my name, Rob Masiak, on this here. So there's Rob, my first name. And that's looking pretty good. So what I might actually do, because it felt a little bit hard to control as I was doing it, I might turn it down a setting and then go for the last name. And there you go. I don't work in a trophy shop, obviously, so it's not absolutely spectacular. But that's going to stay in there forever, no matter what happens to it. And people are going to know that it's mine, which is great. So now we're going to move on to cymbals. Cymbals are a little bit more of a delicate task. First of all, we just look at this cymbal. Something you may or may not already know is that the cymbal is vibrating the furthest from the point from which it is suspended, not in the middle. So you'll find, if you've experimented with sizzle chains or whatever, or just dampening, the more something is on or against the outside of the cymbal, the more it affects the sound, whereas in the center it doesn't affect the sound very much. So we're going to be doing our engraving close to the center, and it's actually best to do it just on the underside of the cymbal, and I'm going to show you where. So if you want to come over here, this is a brand new set of Zildjian K Custom hand-hammered special dry cymbals. We've got hi-hats, 2 crashes, and a ride, and that's what we're going to be doing today, but I want to make absolutely sure that I'm going to do a good job of this. So thankfully, I have this cymbal, which is broken, which was donated to me just as something to work on, and I'll probably experiment with cutting this out. That might be another video that I'll do in the future, but in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to place it on, I've got a mat here that mitigates, it creates friction, so it mitigates it sliding around. And I'm just going to make sure that I can do a good job of this. So I'm probably going to turn this right down to either 1.5 or 2, somewhere in there. And what I want to do is I want to write my characters right around here, right on the inside. No further out than this, but the thing that you have to be really careful of is making sure that you don't actually, your line doesn't run right out into the center hole. Because if it does, then that will eventually turn into a chip, and then it'll run into a crack, and then your cymbal will be gone. So I'm going to try just writing an R, since Rocky Mountain Symphony Orchestra just wants RMSO, engraved in those cymbals, but also my name starts with R and the cymbal belongs to me. I'm going to try an R and make sure that I have a handle on this before I work on cymbals that are, you know, worth a grand total of over $2,000. So we're going to start with this one. I don't know how well you can see that in the light, but it's a nice clear R, and it really hasn't gone very deep into the cymbal at all since I kept it on a low setting, which was definitely the smart thing to do. So that worked. So now you get to see me move on to where it really counts. I'm going to do one of their super nice cymbals with an RMSO all the way around, so that everybody is going to know that it belongs to that orchestra until the end of time. And you get to see pressure's on now because I really can't mess this up. So here we go. By the way, every engraver is a little bit different. Like I said, I hadn't worked with this particular one before, so try it on some pieces of scrap metal first, and then if you have a cymbal, that doesn't really matter, try it on that before you try it on a nice cymbal. And if you're too nervous to do it, it is a service that I offer, and you're welcome to bring your cymbals on down to the shop and I'll do them for you. Guaranteed. Here we go. RMSO, Rocky Mountain Symphony Orchestra. And there we are. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good evening.